Today on the bench, I want to tie you up the green seal bugger. This was originally tied by Denny Rickards for still waters, but it's also very effective in moving waters. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we'll use a size 10 4x long streamer, some 8/0 olive thread to tie with, some olive marabou for the tail, some pink polar flash for the tail highlights, some dark olive UV2 Seal X for the body, and a burnt orange Grizzly hackle for the hackle. To start the fly off, I've taken my thread, already tied it on, and I've taken a good clump of marabou. I want really an entire feather. And the key here is I want to build up the body a little bit. So what I'm going to do is measure the marabou about, put the right length, or close to it, because I'm actually going to pull it to cut it. And I'm going to start right by the eyelet and work my way back with the thread. So I'm actually going to build a little bit of a body at the same time I'm tying this tail in. It also keeps the body very uniform. When I get to the back, I'm going to take a couple of wraps behind the tail just to help hold it up. And then I'm going to measure about the length of the body for the tail and then pull it and cut it. And that makes our tail. Now the tail's tied in, I'm going to take 2 strands of my polar flash and I'm going to put it on the thread, and I'm going to actually draw it down just slightly on the sides. I want it to kind of be on the top side of the fly, either side, and then just cut it off and make it about the length of the tail. Now that the tail's tied in and finished, I've taken one hackle, and what I'm going to do is lay it with the shiny side out right beside the hook and pull all the barbs back. So pull them all out so they're all showing and exposed. And I'm going to strip off one side, and the side I'm going to strip off is the top side. So as long as it's facing towards you with the shiny side out, I'm just going to pull off the one side and just strip off all those barbs. So you can see that whole one side is stripped of the barbels. So what I'm going to do is tie that in by the tip, and again, critical to tie it in by the tip. And wrap that in. Another important ingredient of this fly is the Seal X, the kind of dubbing, and that's why it's called the seal bugger. Is we're going to make a dubbing brush. So what I'm going to do is make my dubbing loop, and I kind of judge about double the length of the hook, because normally once you wind it up it'll be about the length of the hook. So I form my dubbing loop, move my thread right back to the front of the eyelet, and then what I'm going to do is start placing my dubbing into the loop and just lay it in there nice and easy and nice and loose, and fill up your dubbing brush. Now that we have all the dubbing in the loop, I'm going to spin it. And as you spin, once you get it, you spin about 10-15 times, start pulling out the excess material and fluffing out all the material in that dubbing brush, because we want this to imitate, again, more of a fuller body. So all these extra fibers that are pulled out, you can save them. So you can see the dubbing loop after I spun it up. There's lots of fibers still hanging out here. That's good, but it's a real nice and thin. So I've picked them all out, and now we're going to wrap it forward to form the body. Now you can see that you've got quite a bushy body with all those green fibers, and now we just want to blend in the orange into there. So what I'm going to do is start wrapping around, and again, just keep pulling back as a hackle as you go. And I want about 4 or 5 wraps up the fly. There's 3 and 4, and then finally when I get to the head, I'll take a few extra wraps just to form a little bit of a head on the fly. Now the hackle's tied in, you can see it's blended nicely with the body. What I'm going to do is pull all the fibers back and create a little bit of a head on the fly. We want the very front collar to flare back a little bit, and we form just a small head on the fly. To finish the fly off, taking my whip finisher, and I normally give it just 2 or 3 there, and give it another couple of whips just to make sure you've got a good knot. And a lot of times I'll head cement the fly, but in this case it's good enough with a whip finish, and cut off your thread. So there it is, the finished green seal bugger. If you're ever having problems finding fish, this is a good pattern to start with. To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise, head to www.sfotf.ca, and if you would like to book an adventure like this one shown, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.